I recently did a video which was about blending one image tonally into the background image, and this was the end result where I had the motorbike which was shot in a studio or what have you, and I wanted to blend it into this background image of the fireworks. Now, the way I did in that video, I sort of came to the conclusion that it only really worked that well in a nighttime image like this fireworks shot, and the blend mode was reflect. And I personally, so far, that's been the best way I've found of matching a nighttime shot like this. But it did sort of make me think, well, how else can you go about matching the tone of one image into another so you can make composite pictures? So this is what I'm going to try and attempt now, and I've been looking on the internet for different ways of doing this, and I've come up with 4 different ways of doing it. Which way suits your needs and your pictures is up to you to decide which one you want to try, but you can sort of have a look and see which one will work for you. So this is the 2 images that I'm going to be using, and of all 4 ways, and both of these pictures come from pixabay.com. And with the picture of the girl, what I did was I cut her out, or selected her and then cut her out, and made it a layer in its own right. So if I turn off the background, you can see there is no background, there is just her there. So I'm going to try and match her, where she's much warmer and brighter, and match her into the background, which is much cooler. Now, I do know there are some major problems with this. One, for example, is the fact I think the background is in better focus than the girl, and also the lighting is probably all wrong. This is anybody who does composite images will probably pick holes in all this, but that is not the point of this video. The point is trying to match her tonally with the background, and you'll just have to accept the fact that I've not matched focus and contrast maybe and other things. We're just trying to look at matching the tones. So let's get on with the first method. Now the first method is virtually the same as that video which I did on the nighttime image, but it doesn't work quite so well on daytime images, but I will show you what I did anyway. So what I've done will do is I will highlight the background image, and I will add a new pixel layer, and I'll re-highlight the background, and now I want to select a color from this image. Now I don't necessarily want her to be green, so I'm going to try and pick a blue, maybe not this brighter blue up here, maybe a blue from the water down here. So I'll just click and drag on the eyedropper here, drag this out, and just try and pick a blue from down here, and that color will now be placed in that little circle up there. And if I click on that, it will now make the foreground color that color. So if I then get the flood fill tool and highlight the blank layer, and it will make that layer that color. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to move this layer up and into a group with the image of the girl, and as I move this up, a blue line will come across here, and it will only go as far as the icons. If it goes all the way across to over here, then it is not becoming a part of a group, it is still a layer in its own right. So I will just move this up, and hopefully you can see, also plus the fact the girl was just gone that colour, and the background hasn't, but hopefully you can just about see that there is a little blue, or a blue line that just touches the icons. So now that that is merged or grouped together with the image of the girl, you just need a blending mode. Now you can pick any and all different blending modes that you like, but the one that would probably work best in these sort of situations is color, and then all you need to do is to lower the opacity to somewhere between maybe 25 to 50%, depending on how much color you want and the warmth that you want to come back into the image. Let's try this at around 38% roughly. So as you can see, if I turn that on and off, that was the start, and she is now being cooled down and hopefully matches the background a bit better. So that is the first version. So if I come to the next one, this is a variation on that theme. It's pretty much the same apart from how we pick the color. So what I'll do is I'll highlight the background and I will right click that and duplicate it. So we have two versions of that background. So the top one that is now highlighted, I'll come up to filter, blur, and then come to average, and now this will blur all the pixels into an average color that is the computer decides is the average color of that layer, which gives you this sort of dark turquoisey blue color. So this is basically just the same. We just click and drag this up into that image of the girl, change the blend mode. I mean, overlay might work, but I will stick with the color option for now, and then again lower the opacity to about 50% or below. I'll leave it on 38 like I did with the first one. So that was the first version where I selected the color, and this is the second version where we use the average color of the image to pick the tone for the girl. So that is version 2 out of the way. And we come on to version 3. Now this is a bit tougher and you need a good eye for this. I have seen a video where they added adjustment layers that made all the colours very weird, and then you had to match the weird colours of the girl to the weird colours of the background to sort of get the same tone. And I tried it and I just couldn't get it to work. So I've sort of simplified it in the sense where I'm just going to highlight the picture of the girl, come to the adjustments and pick selective color. Let me just move this out of the way here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this adjustment downwards and make it a group with the image of the girl like that. So I'm only affecting her now. Now I'm only going to be adjusting the whites, the neutrals and the blacks. I'm not going to touch any of the other options. You may want to if you try this, but the first thing I'm going to try is the neutrals or the mid-tones, and it's just a case of, now I want to take out a lot of the yellow and the red and the warmth from this image. So if I reduce the yellow, maybe add a bit of the black in there, take out a bit of that red, and maybe just bump up the blue a little bit. I'll then come back to and try the blacks. So it's all a bit of trial and error, and you find what will work for your personal tastes. Yes, one last look. I have a look at the whites, because that dress is maybe a bit too bright. Might just be better toning down the blacks, just to sort of knock some of the brightness out of that. And then it's, it's just a case of keep going backwards and forwards, and maybe adding back some warmth or taking away. So it's down to personal choice and your personal how you see it, because I mean, I will freely admit that I'm partially green colourblind, so I may be getting this slightly, it looks okay to me, it may look absolutely horrible to you. So that is version 3, basically just using selective colour to alter how she looks. If I compare that with the first version I did, she's a bit too blue there still. Using the average blur, it's not bad, it's okay. And that version I've just done, she's probably still a bit too orange, red, warm. I could probably knock back the colours a little bit, which I can do because it is an adjustment, so I can always reselect it. And let's try the neutrals again and just take out a little bit of that warmth and redness. Yeah, that's a bit better, I think. So that is that version out of the way, and now coming to the last version. Now this is a bit more complicated, and it will mean you having a pen and pencil ready, because we're going to be taking down some figures. So what I'm going to do first of all is to add, I'm going to highlight the bottom layer there, and I'm going to add a threshold adjustment to that. I'm going to hide the girl picture, and what we're looking for here are the dark areas and the light areas and the mid-grey areas. Now, as you can see, if I move this so you can change how much is visible. Now, I don't necessarily want these areas that you can see at the start, I mean, because this is all the way over to the left. These are your pure black. I mean, you could set your colour to pure black, but I just want something that's slightly better, not pure black. So let's have a look. Yeah, so there's an area up here that's the middle of it is pure black, but the outside area is just slightly off of black. So let me just close that down, shut that. Oh, I've got to remember where it is. Where is it? Oh, it's there. So it's that area there. So I'm going to sample that area, but not the center of it. I'm going to come slightly just the outside of that, and I'll click on that little circle to make that the color. So as you can see, the red is, I'm going to note this down, see the red is 4, the green is 6, and the blue is 5. So it is not, it's not absolutely pure black, because it was, if that was black, these would all be 0. So I'm going to come back and turn the threshold on, double click on the icon of that, and I'm going to bring this all the way over to this side, and then I'm just going to slowly ease this back to bring back some of the white that's in the image. Again, I don't want absolutely pure white, but I've got this area here which is, let's have a look. Oh, it's that pathway that is going there. We'll try that. It's again use the sampler and come to the pathway, which is just about here. It's more yellow than white, but we'll give that a try. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make a note of this, which is 252, 238 and 116. Now we're going to want the half tones, or the mid tones I should say. This is a bit harder. What I'll do now, I'm going to make a 50% grey layer. So I'm just going to come to the swatches here, and in the colours swatches over here you've got 4 swatches, and the middle one here, or the middle between black and white, is 50% grey. That will make the foreground colour that. So I will then come to layer, new fill layer, and it will make that 50% grey. Now I want to change the blending mode of this to difference, which is there. Turn back on the threshold adjustment and bring it back, and as you can see, up to like the 50% mark, there's actually no pixels at this end. It just stays black. So it's not until you start bringing this back into where the pixels are is where we will find, hopefully, the mid tones of the image. Now in the video that I saw where they're using this, they said the darker pixels here will be the mid tones. So it's a case of trying to find where from the picture you want to get the mid tones. If I just turn that off for a moment, I definitely don't want it to look green still, so I'm going to try and find a mid tone from maybe down here in the water. So really it's sort of anywhere in this sort of area down here. So turn that off, turn that off, that off, and so I'm going to sample, say sample from about there, and come back to colour and click on that to find the colour I'm looking for. So that's 093173. So now I've got a note of my dark shadows, my midtones, and my highlights. So now what I want to do is highlight this image of the girl. I can now make her visible, and then I'm going to come to the adjustments and come to gradient map. Just put that there, and I'm going to click and drag this down and make it a group with the image of the girl, so we're only affecting her. Now by default it comes set with 3 nodes, which is what we're going to change. So I'm going to make this end the same as the shadows, the middle the same as the midtones, and the right hand side the same as the highlights. So it's already set on the middle one, so I'm going to do that first. I'm just going to click on the color box there, and my settings was 0, 93 and 173. No, let's try the highlights now, and my settings for that was 252, 238 and 116, and then over the shadows, and my settings for this were 4, 6 and 5. And what that is doing is altering the shadows, midtones and highlights across the whole gradient there. And you can delete the threshold and fill layer if you want, or just leave them there and hide them. But all we're going to do now is change the blend mode of this, and again you can probably try whichever one that you want, but again I'm going to go for colour, and then just tone down this to 50% or below, probably a bit less than that, just to bring a little bit of warmth and colour back into this. Let's try 25%. Yeah, that's not too bad. So that's just the 4 versions. That one there where it's probably a bit too blue, that's probably, that way is probably best staying on nighttime images, I think. This version wasn't too bad because you're using the average colours from the image. This version, where I use the selective colour adjustment, it's just a case of tweaking and taking your time to pick a colours and tones that suit your purpose. And the last version is using the gradient map to select the shadows, midtones and highlights for the image that you want to change, using those same numbers from the background image that you've picked the colours from. So each will get its own different results, and each may work differently on your particular images and the way you work and what you're looking for. And I do want to reiterate that I do know that there are other problems, like other than tonal here, not just lighting and focus and sharpness and all that, but hopefully it will guide you in the right direction to alter your pictures to get them tonally correct. And I'm guessing there are probably 3 or 4 or more different ways of doing this. These are just the first few that I found, and I'm just passing them on. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.